Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is time for another live stream, 3 p.m. Sunday, August 9th, 2020, here in New Vienna, Iowa. Hope you guys are doing well. Today, I'm having a little bit of a self-conscious day. I don't have a hat on. I took a shower. I took a shower. I take a shower every day, well, almost every day that I run, at least. But after I took a shower, I didn't put a hat on. I just kind of let the hair dry, and I'm feeling like it looks weird, but I'm gonna try and go for it. We'll see how it goes. Um, I FaceTimed my sister yesterday, and she was like looking at me, and she was looking at like the tail feathers that I got back here, and that are like curling over, and she was like, "What is happening back there?" And I'm like, "It's just getting long. It curls up." And she's like, "What is happening?" She's like, "What is happening like all over?" She's always been very honest with her assessments on my appearance throughout the years. And for the most part, I don't care. It usually takes her like 10 times for her to say something to me for it to like register. I think yesterday might have been the 10th time. And so I'm feeling very like self-conscious about the hair. I don't know. We were playing a game that I like to play with the girls called Daddy's Wig. And so we put the hair the other way. Yeah. You want me to do your hair? Are you sure you want me to do your hair? Because look at my hair. So we play a game called Daddy's Wig where I try to make my hair look like it's a hairpiece. And then she was like freaking out about that, and she thought it was like so gross. I thought it was pretty funny. But it got me kind of like worked up on it. Yes, I will. Okay. All right. So I'm pretty good with other people's hair, I guess.
Mom usually uses this.
You want me to put this spray in your hair? Okay. Hold on.
Then she
All right.
brushes it, and then she puts it up.
All right. So while I'm doing this, I'll try and read over some comments he was here. It looks like we got in his Dunbar here. He's in a hammock in the back garden. That sounds like absolute heaven. Plant Power Dan's here. Larry Mall. We got my mom's here. Hi, Mom. How are ya? Martha's here as well. JC, Ilya Kim. I can't believe you are 40 years old. Yeah, I mean, I think the running keeps you young, So that's why. That's not why, but it's another benefit of it, I guess. All right. You want a bun or you want a ponytail?
Bun.
Bun. Okay.
Take all my hair for a bun.
Yeah, all your hair for a bun. Okay, here you go. All right, and voila. What do you think? Good?
Good.
All right, here, take these. We got Mr. Random here. See, Jonathan Fan. He says, "Go Mohawk." Yes. And it's something that I've been thinking about because I was just like, well, like I don't want to do like a home haircut. I don't want to go to a barber. I just don't think it's necessary because I'm not working. And so I thought, well, I know I'm not teaching this fall semester. I'm taking the semester off. And then there hasn't been much work. So now would be a good time to go Mohawk. I always felt like I would go Mohawk like the day that I kind of like retired from like a professional life, if I ever did that. And so like that would be kind of like getting a tattoo, but it can grow back and I can kind of like undo it, that kind of thing. So that's kind of like where I'm thinking. I'm thinking about the Mohawk, but like I have a feeling as soon as I have like the Mohawk, like I'll have a client that's like, hey, we got this big job. We want you in on it. Let's have a video call. And then I'm going to have to like, well, I'll probably have to shave this. And then I probably just have to shave everything at that point, which is, I'm sure is fine. That's probably where I'll go. So yeah, Eric the Red said the daughter is stealing the show. Yeah, we were just sitting downstairs hanging out, snuggling in Grandpa's chair, and so we were just hanging out there. And then I get up to do the live stream, and all of a sudden, then she needs to have her hair done. So I think she knows what she's doing. She's pretty savvy. Eric the Red says about to run doubles. Awesome, very cool. Stevie76 is here, and Chris Dyke is here as well. Plant Power Dan says, your hair is shiny AF, bro. Let it go. Yeah, all right. Yeah. Pete G1980 says, hi, Kofuzi. How's it going? How's the knee? Have you tried a knee support? More importantly, though, what beer are you drinking tonight to numb the pain? No beer tonight. Although my father-in-law just brought back some. My father and my mother-in-law spent the weekend in the cabin up in El Cader, which is an area that I went to last summer. Very hilly, really beautiful terrain to run in. Last year when I ran in that area, I ran up a hill I got passed by like Amish with a horse-drawn carriage. So I was like very remote. Very cool place to run. And there's a brewery up in that area, so we brought back some beer. So we might have some of those tonight. But right now I'm actually drinking coffee. Drinking more of that Athlete's Coffee by Unived. The sweetness is good. It kind of reminds me of, I forget what the drink is called, but you can make a drink where you pull a shot of espresso, you put the sugar and the raw on the espresso grinds, and then you put it in the machine and then you pull a shot that way. Like if you made an Americano with that, that's kind of what it reminds me of. So it's been good. And then if I, today, as I've been sitting down for a long time, when I get up, it'd be like, ooh, a little bit like maybe I shouldn't have sat down for so long, but it's feeling good. And I just feel like using the Sauconys a little bit more sparingly will at least be an interesting experiment. Anecdotal for sure, but at least a little bit of a test to see if that's really what's bothering me. Jonathan says, yee, buddy. All right, where'd it go? Yee, buddy, where is it? Every time I look at something, it moves. Yeah, keep up the good work. Regards from Sweden. Awesome. How's it going, Jonathan? Martha says, just watched the movie Lincoln Lawyer, an older movie. Really good. Anyone else see that one? I didn't see that one, but I remember all the memes that came out from that movie, like what I do, what I think I do, what everyone else thinks I do. Like that. Wasn't that from that movie? Yeah. Tony Macias is here. Ty Matt. Good to see you guys. Steve Ehrenberg. Steve Ehrenberg says, Mom, I think he needs to hear from you that he looks fine. Here's the thing. I think, I'll FaceTime my mom afterwards to see what she thinks, but I suspect that she's going to agree with my sister. They tend to line up on those kinds of things. I get kind of like a pincer attack, whenever it's issues regarding my appearance in my family. Stevie76 says, I couldn't do my girl's hair. That's the only thing that I can do. I've tried to do braids before, and then like every once in a while, basically on May the 4th, the baby will let me do her hair like little triple ray buns, like in a row. She'll let me do that, and that's about as much as I can do. I can kind of do a braid. I can't do a French braid where you keep bringing in more hair. I don't know. I feel like I'm lacking. I need like a third hand or at least like 4 more fingers. I just can't do it. Tyler says, the hair looks good. Shave the chin, though. Yeah. Today, the baby, while we're sitting in the chair, she goes, Daddy, you need to shave this part every day. Every day, Daddy. And I was like, okay. All right. So, yeah, everyone is giving me a hard time. I think it's unanimous. And I'm getting it like a multi-coastal approach, multi-generational criticism. So I think it's time. Message received. Tyler says, what are your thoughts on the ASICS Glide Ride? I've not run in that one. I think that the best compliment you can give from the Glide Ride is that Seth used it for his fundraiser run where he ran like over 50K. So I feel like it was a day where he was going to try to run as much as possible in a given amount of time. And the fact that he picked that, I think, says a lot about the shoe. Jody Run says, good day, everyone. Lewis M says, yo, whoa, 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 whoa. That's how he said it. That's how I wrote. That's my interpretation of what he wrote. Plant Power Dan says, I rocked a mohawk when I worked, essentially as a social worker. The kids loved it. Yeah. I think, though, that like in my line of work, what I typically run, I don't run into it as much these days, but because I've been doing it for over 10 years. But when I first started doing it, a lot of my role is consulting and advising, very seasoned and experienced trial attorneys. And so I'd come in and say, here's how you're doing it wrong. And I'd be like this kid, like straight out of law school. And so there was a lot of like, who's this young guy? Who's this kid coming in here telling me what to do kind of thing? And so I was very concerned about looking like them. And now that I'm a little bit older and I've been doing it for a long time and have a little bit more of a reputation that comes before I get in the door, now I feel like when I don't look like a lawyer, it kind of helps. A mohawk might be a little far for that, though. But, that's kind of like my take on like what I can get away with in the workplace as someone in their middle ages right now. Ilya Kim says, just did my first half marathon in Moscow last week. It was awesome. Very cool. That's great. Great work. J. Mike Remy's coming in from a remote location in New Hampshire. Gives a wave. Awesome. Cool. Vasco Tavares says, hello from Portugal. Very cool. Meredith Roseman says, hey, friend. Awesome. Lewis M says, no, don't fold. Go for the Forrest Gump look. I mean, I presume the Forrest, because he had many looks in the movie. I presume the look that you're talking about going for is when he's been running a lot, where it's just full giant beard. I won't ever get a beard like that. There's no way. I could not shave for the rest of my life, and I still wouldn't get anywhere close to that. I think that after a while, my hair would just kind of give up and be like, I guess this is as good as it gets. It would probably stop like somewhere around here, you know, and you just stop. Yeah, Jonathan Fan says, if you think you're going to go out with a bang regarding your hair, you should grow it out as long as you can. You know, something that like resonated while I was talking with my sister though is then like, but then do I become that dude that has like the really long, weird, greasy hair? And it's like, yeah, you should have cut that like a long time ago, you know? So that's kind of like where I'm worried that it's getting. All right. You know, someone was telling me, where comment did it go? It just jumped. Yeah, Matt Legrand says, thanks, Matt. The stash is looking fantastic, by the way. I was trying to convince my sister, though, that, like, you know, this is a very good, like, runner's mustache. And, like, I had, like, my trucker hat with me. I wasn't wearing it at the time, which is why she was making fun of my hair. But then I, like, put it on, and I was like, see, doesn't this, like, fit? This doesn't feel like a real, quote-unquote, distance runner? She's like, no. There's no convincing my sister when she has an opinion on like she has a very good eye for aesthetics. She could have done a lot of things in like the design category work if she chose to. So I tend to agree with her very much, but I hold her opinion in high esteem. But I was like, I was hoping I could at least get the like, okay, for like, you know, endless summer runner kind of vibe. You know, that's what I was going for. Anyway. Terrence Huey's here. He said, whoops, just got in after finishing the Saucony video. Well, thanks for watching that one. I hope it doesn't cause too much of like a, I hope people don't think it's too clickbaity, but, or too like imagined. Those are like the two ends of the spectrum that I think it could be in, but you know, it's what I'm thinking about. Gavin Braden says, my twin girls always ask me for Elsa hair from Frozen. I can barely manage to get it into a single ponytail. Those ponytails are so hard to do. I've watched many videos on how to get the braid to start from here and like go around and like it curves, you know, downward. Like, goodness. I mean, I have a hard enough time with, lanyards. When you make the lanyards and you like, you flip it over, curl it underneath, and then you pull, like those things. And that's not like attached to a human being, and you could really pull it and snug it tight. Like the braids, for me, I just have a hard time. Keyforification says, now that you have experience in regards to like me coming in and talking to people that I work with, not have experience, you could just hit them with the okay boomer, right? I don't think I've ever heard that uttered in like a work context, but in some of those jobs that I'm on, it gets pretty high stress, and people get very familiar, and I could easily see it happening. I think that the teams that generally work well would be the teams where like that kind of response would be received well if it were backed up with like, here's why you're being a boomer about it, you know, instead of it just being like a, you know, kind of like a your mom response to like kind of thing. So I think it could work. Maybe I could. I don't know if I could pull that off. If I ever do, I will let you guys know. Eric Smith says, hey, from South Africa. What's going on? Pete G 1980 says, hey, hi Kofuzi, what's a good winter shoe? One that I always tend to pick up is any of the, I mean, they're not the best winter shoes, but ones that I like are the Nike Winterized, the Shield versions. So like the Pegasus Shield is usually a pretty good choice. The Peg Trail Shields, were they called Shields, or were they called, what were they called? But there were winterized Peg Trails that were out that I think is probably just the right balance. If you're a city or a road runner and you're looking for a winterized shoe, that's probably the best. If you're on trails a little bit more, I did really enjoy the the Hoka Challenger ATR 5 Gore-Tex. I love Gore-Tex. So that was a good one. One that I keep forgetting to try, but I'm going to try and remember to try this year is the Saucony Peregrine. Although it's a Saucony, so I don't know if I'll be able to run on it. But that shoe is every year. It's beautiful, and it looks like it's a great shoe. And I'm like, yep, I'm gonna definitely try that one. And then once winter hits, I just totally forget. So that's one that will probably be looking at. But for me, if you're really looking for like heavy winter shoes, Gore-Tex, something with a GTX in it or Gore-Tex. That's what I look for. Adam Mead says, bit late but hi from Oxford, England. Awesome. All right. Let's see. All right, let's skip down because it just jumped on me. Plant Power Dan says, I shaved my stash and now the sweat on my lip keeps going in my mouth. Mustaches are efficient. They also save leftovers if they are big enough. Might find some extra gel in there. I forget what I was eating, but I was just like, I think I was drinking water later in the day, just trying to like top up on some hydration. And then as I was drinking it, I was like, uh-oh. And I felt like food particles like getting dislodged by drinking water. It was a very strange experience. Jonathan Fan says, I want to grow out my hair, but whenever it gets long, my mom nags me to cut it. I mean, I would just say, like, it's not like you got a job interview tomorrow if you're still in school, you know? Although I guess I'm assuming that with based on that comment that you're in like high school or college age. But, you know, whenever my hair gets long, my mom also nags me to cut it too. So you could be my age. But again, it's not like I got a job interview or a work meeting tomorrow. So it doesn't really matter at this point. Sabanzovic Kadir says, what are, in your opinion, the best running shoes right now? I think right now one of my favorite shoes is the Hyperion Tempo. If I'm just going to like just pick a shoe, I also really like the Endorphin Speed. Those are two really, I mean, there's a lot of really great shoes, but those are two that I think are really great. I mean, best can mean a lot of things. Value, value per dollar, you know, ultimate straight up performance, racing, long distance running, you know, that kind of thing. So, but if you're just going to leave the question at what's the best, I'll put those two out there. Terrence Wee says, I love Saucony, but appreciate hearing your experience with them, good and bad. Yeah, I mean, I felt like I didn't need to put any disclosures in that video since I was basically talking about how a brand of shoes isn't working for me. But I guess I should have, just in case like people thought that like some other brand might have been paying me to say that. But which would be weird, and I wouldn't do that. But yeah, I mean, it's like I love everything they've put out this year, but it seems to be hurting my knee. I think, anecdotally speaking, you know, I have to look into it further, but we'll see. I'll take a little bit of a break from them, use it like sprinkle it through my training a little bit more rather than like binge on them like I have been, and we'll see how I feel. Rainrunner said, what food theme are we going for today? Getting hungry for lunch. Yeah, I don't know. Today, my girls, I mentioned yesterday that we've been doing like lemonade stands here, and my girls did a lemonade stand today. And today the snacks at the lemonade stand were M&Ms, or they're called Skippers. They're basically M&Ms, but by a company that makes them in a peanut tree nut free facility, so we can have them at our house. So Skippers, nachos, which my daughter makes the chips from flour tortillas, and slices of American cheese. She toasts the tortilla chips first. They're flour tortillas though, so it's a little bit not like a corn tortilla. But anyway, nachos, and she made a salad, a spinach salad. So that's what was at our lemon and fresh squeezed lemonade, which was really tasty. I feel like I want to have that like after a run. It's sweet, it's cool, it's really sour. It's very refreshing, very good. So that's, I mean, to just get the ball rolling. I always feel like the food theme kind of like takes its own life based on what you guys respond to and put out there as well. All right. Ilya asked a question about what's your opinion on athletes switching to meatless / plant-based diets? I think if it works for them, I think it's great. For me, I did it before I was running a little bit when we switched. So it wasn't like a running based decision. For us, it was somewhat like health based. Our journey kind of started out somewhat health based with like a little bit of an environmental concern component to it and a little bit of a humane treatment of animals kind of which is a weird phrase if you think about it, but an ethical treatment of animals perspective. So there's kind of like three prongs to that one. And then it eventually became a very health-oriented switch for us. But, I mean, we've liked it. And then my wife these days will have meat in her diet periodically, a lot more frequently than I will. So we're like mostly plant. I mean, I feel like plant-based is like a great way to say it because, you know, it's not plant-only. It's plant-based. We're based primarily in plants. I know that's not what people mean when they say plant-based. But I think it's a great idea for people that want to make it work. I also think that it's really easy to be not plant-based. This is more convenient. You can still get very like lean, healthy proteins, and not that animal fats are terrible for you. But I mean, that's what makes them delicious is the fat. But I think that I don't have a preference for it. I think whatever works for people works. But what works for me is not being meat-based. Or what works for me is being plant-based. So, yeah. Plant Powered Dan, speaking of plant, says, I'm predicting there's going to be a lot of Saucony shoes in people's best of 2020 vids. I agree. Rain Runner says, Saucony definitely seems like the brand of the year. Yeah, I mean, I would say so. I think that, like, they just, like, their timing and also the execution of the Endorphin series. By the way, I did order a pair of Endorphin shifts. They just got shipped. I ordered them from Running Warehouse, I think. And so they should be here in the next couple of days. So by the end of the week, hopefully I'll have like a first run video. And then once I can kind of make sure I understand that shoe, I'll do my giant like Saucony like line video. So that's coming up. But yeah, I think they're putting out a lot of great shoes, especially with, I mean, Power Run and Power Run Plus. I think people are receiving it with great enthusiasm, and I think it's better than Ever Run. I mean, I liked Ever Run. I didn't think there was a problem with Ever Run, but Ever Run seemed like a foam with a fancy name. Power Run seems like a very good foam with a very weird name. Like, lots of people have commented, like, why take out, like, Power Run? Like, they took out 2 letters. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And then they always capitalize everything. So am I supposed to say PWRRUN like it's an acronym? You know, so it's always kind of weird like that. But I think people really like Power Run and Power Run Plus, and then Power Run PB in the Endorphin series. Yeah. Steve says, hi all, just in from a 10 miler after tweaking calf in the SL $sign. That's funny. I was looking for sound effects for like change to put in like a change jar. But none of the ones I found were very good so far. But yeah, SL20 comes up every day. And he had the Nova Blast on today, Steve did, and they were a nice soft ride. Very cool. Kiefer Vacation says, New Balance is still doing good this year, and Hoka as well. Yeah, I think that Hoka's going to finish the year strong because they didn't release any of their shoes. They just waited on all of them. So, like, I was supposed to be in LA for an event with Hoka in May. So, like, that's, like, when all, like, the fanfare for, like, the Clifton Edge, and the Bondi were supposed to originally happen. And I just got them, like, 2 days ago. Not that, like, they delayed, but, like, they only were released. I bought them through regular channels, and then, like, only got them 2 days ago, like, beginning of August. So, like, you know, it's been quite a bit of a delay for them. But hopefully that means that, like, the rest of the year will be really exciting because you've got the Clifton, Bondi, Rincon, still waiting for that Rocket X. Still waiting for that one. So we'll see. Hopefully they finish the rest of the year really strong. And then, like, by then I'll be ready for some winter shoes, you know, so maybe the next Challenger, you know, maybe get another Gore-Tex version of that. So they could still really finish strong. And then New Balance, I agree. I mean, I think that, again, New Balance also, at least in the U.S., has delayed a lot of their releases. The TC came out early. We were supposed to get the RC, still haven't gotten that yet. I think the Beacon 3, I haven't ordered it yet, but I think the Beacon 3 just came out in the US. And then still waiting for, are we going to get I think we're getting a Rebel 2, right? I don't know if I've seen pictures of that, but I'd love to see a Rebel 2. Because then it's like, well, where does the Rebel 2 fit in? Is that just like a non-plated version of the TC? Or non-plated and a little bit slimmer? I think that could be interesting, because then one's like a Zoom Fly, one's like a Turbo, and then you've got like a Alpha Fly. So you've got like that triplet. Then you've got that with New Balance as well. So it could be real interesting. It's going to be, I mean, hopefully it's a pretty exciting time of the year for running, especially once we get into like kind of marathon season, or quote unquote season, you know. Thomas Regan, Thomas Ultra Runner, says, nice to see you again. Good to see you, Thomas. Tony Macia says, Gore-Tex shoes always seem to be so hot. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but like you want them on days where like, your feet are going to be really cold. So, it's supposed to be a little bit hot. Imp says, Escalante 2.5 should be out soon. Might be worth checking out. I thought it was out already, but I think that I'm going to leave that one since I ran in the 2 and it's a 0.5 update. I think that if I do another Ultra this year, it'll probably be the Tauren like 4.5, since I've never run in that. So I think that might be where we go. All right, we got Andy, FOD Runners, in here. What's going on, Andy? Good to see you. Sorry, I'm running a little bit behind on some of these comments. Let's go down to the bottom to catch up with you guys. Yeah. Meredith the Roseman says, I think I might get the Beacon 2 as it will be cheaper, hopefully. Yeah, but Meredith, the thing is, people know about the Beacon, and for whatever reason, anytime it goes like on sale, it sells out like instantly. Or like, not that it sells out, but like I think like whatever retailer has it, like the minute they mark it down, they go through all their inventory, because people know. I think every runner has like some sort of Google alert or news alert that lets them know when like their favorite retailers mark down the Beacon 2, because when it gets cheap, it just sells out. MC1796 says, oh, what are the winters like in Iowa versus Chicago? I would say that, latitude is this way, right? Latitudinally, we're a little bit north of Chicago, and because here it's not next to a large body of water, we don't have that temperature buffer of the water to keep it a little bit warmer. So it's actually a little bit colder than Chicago, and I would say the winters here are a little windier because there's nothing to block the wind. It just shoots right across all the open fields. So winters here are cold. But on the other hand, for the most part in day-to-day living, a lot of times in the winters, you go from like garage to car to driving to like parking lot or other garage to indoors. So like it's not like you're walking half a mile to drop your kids off at school in the winter. You're not walking home with groceries when it's like 20 degrees out. So the winters are colder but more bearable here because it's a car-based lifestyle versus a walking-based lifestyle. But running-wise, yeah, when it's winter here, I know that I only can get footage on my run like the first 40 minutes or so, because after that, the camera just dies. Unless, and here's what I do sometimes, when it's real cold, I'll take the GoPro battery out and put it inside my glove. And then I'll have like my glove, the battery, and then the hand warmer that's in there on top, and I'll make like a little battery sandwich. And then I'll put the battery back into the camera, and then it'll work for like another couple shots. So that's what winters are like here. I do that in Chicago too with the battery, but it's cold here. Guy says, is there a brand you haven't run in that you would like to? An entire brand? I would think, there's 2 brands that I think are interesting. I would say maybe 3. Topo is interesting, but also Topo seems very similar to Ultra to me, and maybe I'm just like glomming them together too much, but it seems relatively similar to me in terms of what they're like trying to do. So I don't feel really compelled to see what Topo is doing. I like what 361 is doing, but it's also like not so compelling that I'm like, I gotta get one of those. The other one that I'm very interested in, but I just never gotten around to, is Enda, the Kenyan brand. just think that's interesting. I like the concept. I like the idea that they're going to try and make like Kenya running is really big over there, but it seems like it's only big and or only profitable if you're a professional athlete. So the idea that they're going to make a running shoe brand in Kenya by Kenyans, I think is a pretty cool thing. At least that's how I understand the business model. So, all right. Andy coming in with some information on the Rebel 2 says it's due out in the UK in February, according to my local shoe shop. So probably a bit earlier online. Oh man, that means we're gonna have to wait for a long time. Oh, that's a long time for the next Rebel. That's like over a year since it was originally released, isn't it? Huh. Eric says, hey, how's it going? How long do you suggest recovering after running a marathon? I did my first one yesterday. I would say that I can't answer that for you. Only you can answer that. And I'm probably a bad person to model yourself after, because every time I start running after a marathon, people are like, you should still be resting. And they're probably right, but I just really like running. So I'll go do it. The general way that I do it is I give myself 2 rest days, and on the 3rd day, I might go out for like a 30-minute, just like shuffling feet. No more, no. I could do less if I wanted to, but no more than that. If on the 3rd day I still don't feel up to it, I'll give it another day. And then, so I'll kind of do that. I'll do like the 30 minutes on feet, a couple of days, maybe another rest day. So like 2 days off, try shuffling feet, another rest day, try it again, kind of like just easily, gradually ease back into it. And like your body's going to tell you. It'll depend on how hard you went, how much you depleted of yourself, if you picked up any kind of like tweaks or like little kind of, not like injuries, but like stressors, things like that. I'd let those kind of come back as much as they can before you really got back into it. But I mean, I don't think people will tell you there's rules. I don't think there's rules. When you feel like you're ready, you're ready, but there's no need to push it. Yeah. Let's see. Lewis M says, I see Atreyu on Ben Johnson's Instagram. The prices seem compelling. Do you have any thoughts on the brand or have any interest in trying out their shoes? I have tried out a pair of shoes. I have one now. It's a black version, which is nice. It kind of looks like a bowling shoe or / like a skate shoe. The way it's like black and white. It's very stark. And I like it. It just was different than what I was expecting. I thought it'd be, I don't feel like super speedy in it, but I do feel like it's a low stack height approach to running. So not minimalist isn't the right word, because minimalist means something different in running, but it seems very like stripped back, like no frills in a good way. I would like to be able to get some more speed work in it to see how I feel about it at speedier conditions. But like on the roads out here, I consider it a good like middle, like medium long run to like shorter run day shoe. And that for that it's been great. The material that I have that this black version is in is, I don't know if all the versions are the same material, but the one that the black one is in is a little bit stinky. It's just like when it got wet with sweat, it really held on to it for some reason. So I don't know if that was just because it was a really hot couple of days when I was running in those shoes, or so a lot more testing needed. But so those are my kind of like first thoughts. Plant Power Dan says, I feel like Topo is trying to land somewhere between Ultras and the traditional shoe. They use 3 and 5 millimeter drops. They just look kind of cheaply made to me. I don't know. And that's, have you tried 361? Yeah. The colors are like odd choices, I think. It's usually like light blue or lime green, which I think will appeal to some people, but I'm like, just give me like regular colors. I like regular colors. Arnold Alanis says, I never knew Saucony had a hint of stability. I had my gait analyzed and it had shoes with a hint of stability were recommended. I guess Saucony is my brand. I mean, I think it works for a lot of people, and I know not all of their shoes have it. They don't always specify, and they rarely specify. I usually rely, who's good at identifying it? Thomas at Believe in the Run. They always mention it whenever they review a Saucony shoe, and they're good at picking it out. I thought I was good at picking it out too, but apparently not with my experience with the Ride and the Triumph. But so they're good at that. And I think for a lot of people, it's really great and people love it. I think that's why they're not going to ever change it, get rid of it, which is fine. Um, but yeah, yeah, I think it has that in there. Very cool says, what is the minimum distance you try to run per week? I don't have like a minimum distance, but I will say like the last couple of weeks I've been running like somewhere around like 40 miles a week because I've been recovering. And so that feels low. And if it wasn't for the fact that I just run like a 30-mile, not race, but kind of like a time trial, I would feel very like stressed out about it. I would have, not anxiety is not the right word, but it would really bother me that I had quote unquote only 40 miles. I feel like better when the number is in the 60s or higher. So I don't know that that's a problem, like not a mental, but like a psychological emotional issue, but like it's something that like it's very irksome, and it weighs heavily in my mind throughout the week. If I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna need to run like 3 half marathons to hit like 65 this week, then I have to spend a lot of time thinking about like, all right, well, this is gonna be a mid-50s week, and that's okay. Here's why that's all right, so I have to think about it. So I guess the minimum distance I try to run per week is probably honestly like 63 to 65. Martha asks regarding Topo and Ultra. If I can spread my toes a lot and just barely touch the sides of a shoe with a normal medium toe box, what point is there to consider those two brands? Well, I can't really speak too much about Topo, but with Ultra, I would say that a big difference to me as well is that it's the zero drop. Not that I feel it like a tremendous amount, but I think that's a big draw for them. I mean, it's kind of like on like is banking their running shoes on their clouds. Ultra is kind of like they're hanging their hat on that zero drop, and that people will like it. And I do like it as a change of pace, so to speak, to mix it up. And while I do feel like there's extra strain in the calf when I run from like a 8mm shoe to a 0mm shoe, for me it's not painful to switch back and forth. But I also like my body like appreciates it in terms of like it gives like a slightly different strains, and it relieves strain on other things. That's why like the first shoe that I run in when my knees hurt from running in Saucony shoes, or when I think it's the Saucony shoes that are doing it, the first shoe that I will like look to is like the Ultra, because it just feels good. So I kind of like it in that way. I use it as a bit of like a reset / recharge shoe. So that would be one reason to try it. But here's the thing, like I tell people all the time, if you really love the shoes that you're running in, don't feel bad at like, because some people are like, I only like this one shoe. Is that weird? And I'll be like, no, that's fine. Then run in the one shoe and just be really happy running. That's kind of how I feel about it. Sean Marshall says, love my pegs, but I had some Achilles pain when I took them for a long run. The Freedom's no pain, all cush. Yeah, I did really like how soft the Freedom 3 was. It just didn't agree with me all the time. That was the thing. But the cushioning was nice. It felt, I know that they consider it kind of like a speedier shoe. I didn't get that sense because it was kind of so squishy. But for it to be, the idea of having a very soft, fast shoe, kind of like a Nova Blast type of approach, I think I like the idea a lot. It's just not my favorite, but I did like it more as like an easier, longer run shoe, and it was comfortable, except for the fact that it would make my knee hurt. Rainrunner says Triumph 17 sounds like a good replacement for aging Bondis. I would think so. The feel is a bit different though. You're not gonna have that same like kind of like this is like the motion like of your foot that I feel like is happening in the Bondi. It's not quite like that in the Triumph 17, but it is a nice long run shoe. And one more on the Sauconys. Let's see. Where'd it go? Paul R. asks, has anyone ever heard or concluded that Saucony has a wide forefoot? Could that be the reason the shoes are not ideal for you? I'm not sure I've ever heard that it's necessarily wide. But But I run in wider shoes. Like I've been running in ultras. Maybe they're not wide enough. That could be the other thing. But no, I've never really heard of people complaining one way or the other that it's too tight or too big, in terms of width on the shoe. So I mean, all things that are worth looking into. Yeah, Martha says, I think a lot of shoes have a hint of stability in the way they look in the heel, like in the Boston 8 or in the midfoot by either great lacing, fit, or whatever. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's like, where does the line go between like hints of stability and like having support so it's not too like squishy and wobbly, right? Because like that was something that I mentioned in when I reviewed the Freedom 3 and the Nova Blast, is that they're almost too squishy, and I would have liked a little bit of torsional support, kind of like I like how in the Bostons and in Ultra Boost they have that torsion bar, which these days I think that they're expanding what the torsion bar's like role is, at least for the Boston. It's become more of a plate that has a bit of a springy effect as well. But like at some point, like you need it to stop from like flopping around like this a lot in the shoe. And so that's where like that hint of stability might, like just making it overall a little bit more connected, can make it feel a little bit more firm, whether you're doing that through like a midfoot cage and all that. So I think that like there's a spectrum of things that we could be talking about. And maybe that's why I don't like certain other shoes too. There may be other shoes that are achieving a similar thing that's bothering me. That's interesting, and something I'll have to think about even further. Let's see. Roadrunner Review says, which will release first, the Rocket X or the RC? That's a great question. We should have some sort of contest. I mean, because I have no information whatsoever on either one. And I feel like anyone that has had information on it, that information is dated. But we should have like a poll. We should try to figure it out. That's a great question. All right, let's see. Let's do one more, and then we'll call it for a day. I'm getting really hot because of this coffee, but it's also a little bit warm in here. The weather here has been really crazy. It was really hot yesterday. We finally turned the air conditioning back on for the first time in a while, which was nice to not have to have it on, but it got so hot. And this morning, I got caught in the rain while filming a video, and it only rained for the time that I was filming my video. Then it was like super sunny. And then a little while ago, I just stepped outside to see what the weather was like, and it was bright and sunny, but I could see dark clouds in the distance, and I heard like a giant boom of thunder, like the kind that you could feel. And the air went from like hot and humid on this side of my body to like chilly on the front side of my body. So it was like really weird outside. But right now it's very hot in this room, so I gotta go. That was a long way of saying I'm hot. Lewis M says, has anyone said SL20 yet? Yeah, someone did earlier. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Let's do one more. Find one. Sean Marshall says, I think the Freedoms are Saucony's minimalist cushion shoe, if that makes sense, as opposed to the Kinvara minimalist low cushion. I'm not sure I understand that, to be honest. I do makes complete sense, and then I'm on the one hand, but on the other hand, I'm like, I don't know if I follow. Because like it's like when Saucony talks about the Freedom, they talking about it like it's a speed day shoe, but it's heavy for a speed day shoe. But I have some thoughts on it, and kind of like to preview like where my like Saucony like brand lineup shoe is gonna go, lineup video is gonna go, is I feel like Saucony this year has kind of like 3 mini lines. And one mini line is the Endorphin series. So you've got the Shift, which is your daily trainer. Then you've got the Speed, which is like your fast day, like long, hard workout shoe, maybe a tune-up race shoe. And then the Pro is like your big day shoe, right? So you've got the 3. But realistically, I think it's like you're either going to go Shift and Pro and Shift and Speed. That's kind of like how I think it goes. And then I think that you've got the 2 other sublines of it, and it's kind of where my mind is is that you've got the Freedom 3 and the Triumph 18. So you got 2 Power Run Plus shoes. The Freedom 3 is your daily trainer, and then your Triumph 18 is your max cushion. Or you've got the Kinvara and the Ride. So like those are 2 like parallel lines where the Kinvara is your everyday trainer, especially the Kinvara 11 this year. I don't think it's as fast a shoe as the 10 and the 9 were. So the Kinvara is more of like an everyday trainer, and the Ride 13 is then your max cushion shoe. And those are the Power Run shoes. You got the Power Run Plus shoes, and then you got the Power Run PB shoes. That's like the 3 versions that I see. The other way to look at it is like you've got kind of like, if you're trying to put the Power Run and the Power Run Plus and shuffle that deck, you've got like Triumph, Freedom, Ride, maybe Triumph, Ride, Freedom, Kinvara, with Kinvara being like your short day shoe, bring it to the track if you're going to do track work, maybe, kind of like the older Kinvaras were. And then the Freedom 3 becomes your everyday trainer. The Ride 13 is like your longer run, and then the Triumph 18, the Ride 13, did I say Ride? Ride 13 is your every like longer run shoe, and the Triumph 18 is like the longest run shoe. So like a 4 set rather than most people have 3. So that's kind of 2 ways I think of looking at these different shoes. But yeah, again, it's one of those things where I would love to be able to talk to someone from Saucony about like how they view those. I don't think Saucony's lineup this year is, I think they're doing a great job. It makes a lot of sense to me. It's not as disjointed as some of the other brands that are out there right now that I'm like having a hard time figuring out, like, do you guys just have 2 teams that they don't talk to each other and they're all making their own shoes? They don't care what the other side's making? Like some brands are definitely like that. But Saucony makes a lot of sense to me this year. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I think that's a good place to leave it for today. Let me see what you guys have to say about that, though, in case you have any comments. Yeah, so that's where I'm leaning towards, and I'll have like a more in-depth video about it like later. Hope maybe like in like a week or so, maybe 2 weeks, So that's kind of where I'm at, because like just putting together my thoughts on that. But thanks everyone for tuning in today. I'm sweating. Hopefully you guys are a little bit more comfortable wherever you are. Inez Dunbar's in a hammock outside watching this in the back in his yard. So I'm very jealous of that. Tomorrow's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about power and power zones, and then we'll do another live stream. Tomorrow's Monday mukbang. Oh, I got to check. My wife just got back from the grocery store today. She told me she wasn't going to be able to get Stouffer's French bread pizza, but for the mukbang, I might be able to have some other sort of French bread pizza or something similar. So we'll see. But I'll let you guys know tomorrow in the mukbang. But in the meantime, hopefully you guys are staying safe out there in your runs, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, everybody.